And then, oh, it's so weird. When, um, if you can, if you can get like two block-like things, you could get like cans or like shoe boxes or something. That will be nice for like one thing that we do. And then we'll spend a bunch of time doing some pigeon stuff. So if you have like a big pillow, I'm using like a pair of sweatpants and I have some other yoga mats that I can use to like lift me up. But if you want to like grab your stuff now, and then we'll just start seated on our mats in Virasana or just cross-legged. I'm gonna sit in Virasana with a block in between my heels. You can face any direction that feels comfortable, or you can sit cross-legged, whatever is good. And then you can just kind of lift up your butt. Just make sure that you have like your entire surface area pressing on the block or the ground. And then you can close your eyes if that feels comfortable, or just bring them to a soft gaze and let your hands rest face down on your thighs. So just coming into the space, letting everything begin to settle. Notice where you're holding some tension from things that have happened before you got here. And our hands are face down for that sense of grounding so that we can encourage some more calm and like inward focus into our mind and body. And begin to listen to your breath. Notice what speed it's going. Notice if you feel it mostly in your chest. Really focus on each inhale and exhale. Becoming aware of how we're breathing, making something that's involuntary have awareness. On each exhale, continue to release a little bit more tension. Notice if you're holding anything in your toes or your fingers or your jaw or your eyebrows. And really let everything sink and relax. Take one or two more breaths here, whatever feels comfortable. And then slightly begin to open your eyes just enough to move the block out if you were using it, or just come over your shins if you were in cross-legged, and then come to an all fours position. So your eyes can stay closed here if that feels nice, or if you want to open them, just find your hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips, perfect tabletop. And then we'll inhale as we arch and exhale as we round. Really focusing a lot on the breath today so that we can stay in the present moment and forget what was going on before and not worry about what will happen after this. And you can click play on the playlist at any time. Notice how fast you're going. Notice how much weight you have in each finger. Try to have the weight be more in the thumb knuckle side of the hand. Tops of the feet are pressing down. All 10 toes are pressing down. So you have a really strong foundation in your body. Creating a strong foundation allows us to do everything in our torso, like move around, in our mind, and have more imagination when we feel stable and strong in our lower body and what we're using to hold ourselves up. Take one or two more inhales and exhales here, and then we'll all meet with a neutral spine. And because we can't do a class without this, We're gonna flip our wrists around 180 degrees, keeping them underneath your shoulders, or you can flip them around 90 if 180 is too much. Once you've set yourself up and there's no rush, you can take some circles to the right. Gaze is down and out, or if you want to get your head involved, you can take circles with your head in any direction. The whole wrist line should be parallel with the front of the mat. At least that's what we're going for. I know it's very hard. Mine are still on like a slant in some direction, so no pressure. Have a slight bend in your elbows if you're locking them out. And really, as you take these circles, let your chest move through the frame of your arms. So you're creating more space in your collarbones, in your lungs, and more space to breathe. Begin to take circles to the left. Tops of the feet still pressing down, giving you that strong foundation to move your body around. And you can circle your head around still. Following your breath, noticing its pattern. And if you want to start going slower or faster, feel free to try out a different speed. And if you notice your arms getting a little bit sloppy, just pause and bring them back to underneath where your shoulders are. Take 1 or 2 more breaths, 1 or 2 more circles. And then come back to center. Flip your hands around the normal way. Let all of that settle. And really let your entire hand, both hands, press down until you feel almost no sensation of what just happened in the wrist. No rush. Take 1 more breath. And then what you're going to do is bring your right knee to the middle of your mat and tuck your left knee behind it. Your feet will still be like hip width distance, but now your knees are crossed in this all fours position. Hands are still underneath your shoulders, and then try the cat-cows again. So inhaling as you arch, exhaling as you round. And with your knees, your thighs, and your hips in this cross position, notice if you can't really move as much. Shoulders are down and back. Elbows are kind of wrapping in. Weights in the thumb knuckle side of the hand. Legs are your strong foundation of what's holding you up. You can think of them as the foundation of a house when we think of the body as a house. Your legs, your feet, your hips are the first floor. And without having a strong foundation in first floor, we can't really do anything else with our second floor or our third floor, or even putting anything inside our floors. Take 1 or 2 more cats and cows. And then come back to center. From here, you're going to place your hands out about a palm print and then tuck your toes under. It's fine to just like wiggle and fidget around until you can do that. And then bend the knees and stick your butt up to the sky. So we're coming into a cross-legged down dog. Find your feet at hips width distance still. Feel free to look back behind you. And your left knee is pressing into the back of your right knee. And you're trying to wrap your left hip down to keep your hip square. So just take a few little bounces with your knees. You can shake your hips from side to side. If you want to swim your arms around, you can do that too. Still try to look down and out. Wrap your armpits in towards your heart. Take 1 or 2 more breaths here. And on your next inhale, bring your body forward and through to this twisted plank pose. Cool. Just notice what this feels like. It's kind of weird. Gaze down and out, and then bend the knees, stick the butt up. Cool. Stay there for 1 or 2 more breaths. Wrap the left hip down, pull the right hip back, and then begin to walk your hands back towards your feet. So now we're coming into this cross-legged forward fold. Knees can be as bent as they need to be. The goal is to have your feet in one line, but I can't do that without like sinking back into my left leg. So if you need to either widen the feet or have one slightly in front of the other, that's okay. My fingertips are on the ground and I'm just gonna let my head drop. Cool. You can sway your upper body from right to left. Both knees are bent. And I feel a little bit wobbly today, so I'm not gonna lift my arms. But if you wanna lift your arms and take an arm variation here, you can. And then on your next inhale, begin to roll yourself up slowly to stand. So you're standing in this weird cross-legged position. We won't be here for long. Give your shoulders a little roll. Wrap your left hip forward again. Really trying to find 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock with the hips. One more breath once you get to the top. And then you can step your right leg away, shake it out a little bit. Notice what your hips feel like. And then grab for your block-like thing. So even if you have like a blanket or something to roll up, you can do this in either way. But I'm gonna place the block like right in front of me on either its like widest part or the vertical side, as long as it's the lowest level. And then I'm gonna place my right foot on it and then lift it up, have a slight bend in my right knee, slight bend in my left knee, and then keeping my spine really straight, I'm gonna like flat back down. So this really just gets the back of the calf and the back of the leg. And then from there, keeping your spine long, you can just drop your head and shake it out. Or you can rock a little forward and back or right to left. And if you don't have a block, you can roll up a pillow or something and also put that underneath your foot and it'll do like a similar thing. But we'll stay here for a bit. I one day will have a secret to not having tight calves. I do not have that secret today. So I always do this. Like I probably do this more than I do any other thing in yoga because my calves are always super tight. And this one is a really good one to get right into the calf. Take 1 or 2 more breaths. And then you can let that go. Place your hands back on your hips. Come up. Shake it out. It's over. Letting it go. Move the block over to the left side or move your pillow structure thing over to the left. Place your left foot on it. Lift it up. Slight bend in the left knee. And you can step your right leg back or forward to give you whatever leverage you need. And then once you bend down, flat back, hands can come to the block if that is comfortable. And then you can rock forward and back and side to side. Head can relax down, really relax your jaw and your forehead. Ooh. And if you find a spot where you feel a lot, feel free to stay there. Finding some stillness. Keep breathing. And the reason we like to do things that open up the backs of our legs or our calves is so that our foundations can stay strong and they can withstand anything. So if a really tall building doesn't have a strong foundation and a big gust of wind comes by, then the building will fall down, which nobody wants. So same with our bodies. If our lower bodies are super tight and not able to like withstand random motions or being able to walk upstairs or running and stuff like that, all those different things, then we won't be able to continue on and live our lives in the best way possible. So we like to make sure things are pliable, bringing an element of like silly putty to our bodies, even though we don't want them to be that pliable. One more breath here. And then you can let the block just fall and come up. Shake it out. Place the block to either side. We're at the backs of our mats. Find your feet under you, feet under hips, feet. Roll your shoulders down and back, palms face forward. Slight bend in the knees, crown of the head is reaching up towards the sky. And then inhale, reach the arms up overhead, press the palms. Exhale, forward fold. And then walk yourself out to a downward facing dog. From here, imagine it's the first dog of the day, pedal it out, do all that good stuff. We won't stay here a super long time today, like we have in past weeks. So you're welcome. But really pedal it out, shake anything out that feels good. Circle a arm, circle a head. Or really pulse it out. You can rock the hips from right to left. Do anything that feels nice. Cool. Take one or two more breaths and then begin to find your archetype of a dog pose. Bend the knees, stick the butt up, wrap your armpits in towards your heart, bring some stillness into your body, but visible stillness. There's still so much going on. And then press yourself down to lift yourself up. Pressing down through the hands of the feet to lift your butt up to the sky. And then place your knees back down, come to that all fours position again. Find your hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips. This time, bring the left knee to the center of the mat and cross your right knee behind it. Feet are at hips width distance. Really feel that connection between the front of the knee and the back of the knee. And then take your cat cows again, inhaling as you arch and exhaling as you round. And one hip is definitely tighter than the other, or not definitely because nothing is really definite, but most likely. So one side might be easier. Try wrapping your right hip down more still. And see if you can go a little bit faster on this side with your cats and cows. Just to change speed up for fun. Eyes can be closed if that feels nice. Wrap the armpits and the elbows in, shoulders down and back. Tops of both feet are pressing down, giving you that strong foundation. And then take one or two more, slowing it down. And now again, hands out about a palm print. Tuck the toes under, fidget however you need, and then come to your downward facing dog. Right knee is pressing into the back of the left knee. Bend the knees, stick the butt up. You can look back to see your feet at hips width distance. If they aren't, move them out or in a little bit. Make sure your hands are in one line. Mine were not. So feel free to look at your hands and your feet and then do whatever you need to get them to the right place. You can wrap your right hip down. Again, open up the left hip to the left side. Think of doing that motion, that circular motion of down and opening up and diagonally out. Bend the knee, stick the butt up. Take some bounces. And then begin to walk your hands back towards your feet again. So this side might be easier to find to your feet in the same line. I'm still struggling on this side, so it's fine. And then let your head dangle. Wrap your right hip down. Fingertips can be down, or if your block is nearby, you can even put your hands on your block. Relax your head, relax your jaw. getting into the hips a lot today. The hips hold up so much for us. They're the biggest joint in the body. So there's a lot going on there. They're in our lower body, so they're in our foundation. They're in our first floor. They're the biggest part of like the tree trunks that are holding us up, that allow our upper body or our branches to all wave in the wind so we don't fall down. So they're very, very important. Take one more breath here and then slowly begin to roll yourself up to stand with your crossed legs. Wrap the right hip forward. You can place your hands on your hips to try to direct that. Shoulders down and back. One more breath. And then untwist your legs. Relief. Shake it out. Jump it around. Cool. From here, we'll just come straight back down. So find your feet underneath you, hips width distance. Roll your shoulders down and back, palms face forward. One moment here in Tadasana, mountain pose. And then inhale, lift the arms up, press palms together overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Nice. From here, let's do some swims because we can. So you're gonna find your left fingertips right underneath your face. Then you're gonna bend more into your left knee and then lift your right arm up to the right, twisting open. One breath here. And on your next exhale, you'll swim your right hand down to place it where the left is, and then lift the left arm up. Exhale, swim it down, and then take these on your own time. Inhaling up. Feel free to lean back a little bit more on each swim, creating more space in the armpit. It's also a really nice stretch on one part of your hips. Keep going. Imagine you're swimming in a pool or the ocean. Cool. Take one more to each side so you're even. And you can just let your arms dangle in the forward fold. When you're ready, walk yourself back out to your bent knee, downward facing dog. Cool. And your knees, stick your butt up, take any other fidgets you want. And then on your next inhale, bring your body forward and through to a tuck-toed up dog. And then bend the knees, stick the butt up again. Take this a few more times, inhaling forward to a tuck-toed up dog. Legs are still engaged as if they're in a plank. And then bend the knees, stick the butt up. Keep breathing. Listening to your breath, making it audible. Take one more flow. And then on your next inhale, lift your right leg up, down dog split, point the toes down, bend the left knee, bend the right knee also, open up the right hip, take some circles with your ankle and your knee. And when you're ready, bring your right knee behind your right wrist for pigeon on the right. Cool. So if this is a lot to get into, definitely put a lot of stuff under you, like anything super soft, like a big pillow. I'm gonna grab 2 yoga mats, but I'm gonna put this underneath my hips to bring the ground towards me so that my hips have something to rest on. And then I really can feel my muscles relax instead of having to exert a lot of effort. So definitely go grab something if your hips aren't touching the floor. And then your shin Doesn't have to be parallel to the front. Left leg shoots straight back behind you, sitting up super tall, and then grabbing for one or two of your block-like things. You can grab one. I'm just going to use one, and I'm going to place it underneath my chest. So vertically underneath my chest on any height that feels good for you, and then walk yourself out. I'm going to make a diamond shape with my hands and then let my forehead kind of just rest or let it go where it goes. If you have a second block, you can put it underneath your forehead. But definitely, if your hips aren't touching the floor, go grab a prop to put underneath you. And from here, just take a few deep, deep breaths. Coming into one of the most being poses in yoga that exists, where we're just here, just resting. And here, we want to slightly pull the right hip back, which you can do by pressing down on the right shin and pulling it back. And the left hip still trying to pull out to the left side. Continue to listen to your breath here. Notice how all different parts of your body are touching the floor. And in silence, notice where your mind wanders off to. Can you keep it present on your breath? Take one more breath right here. And after you exhale, you're going to lift your head up just a little bit and begin to walk your hands over to the right. So my chest is going to come a little bit over my right thigh, but I'm still going to press back on my left hip. We're just getting a nice side stretch here. If your head can come back to the floor, great. You can also maneuver your blocks so they're still under your chest if that helps. Or you can gaze down and out in between your hands and take a few breaths here. Inhaling into the side body, see if your left fingertips can walk out in front of you and over to the right a little bit more. Still pressing back with the left hip, creating more and more space so you feel a super long line from your left fingertips all the way back and down through your left toes. One more breath, and then begin to walk yourself over and over and over to the left. So now my chest is kind of over my left foot. Feel free to move your block so it stays under your chest if that feels good. And now we're stretching a different part, but here it's a little bit harder. So you still want to pull your right hip back as your right fingertips go forward. You don't want to lose that right angle or that straight line through each hip. And if this feels like a lot, feel free to grab more and put it underneath your hips. The secret is bringing the ground up to you so that your hips can be relaxed. And when they're relaxed, then we can get into what's being stored there. Take one or two more breaths here. Eyes can stay closed and soft. After your second breath, you can walk yourself back to center. Look out in front of you and then begin to walk your hands back up, coming to sit up tall. And then lean over onto the right side and circle your left leg around, coming into double pigeon or ankle to knee. So you could stay on top of whatever is under you, or you can lower it or do whatever, but whatever will get your left foot and ankle on top of your right knee, left knee on top of your right ankle. I'm going to come down a level just because I feel like I'm slipping. Do whatever you need to do. And then sit up super tall, both sits bones pressing down. And then you can begin to walk yourself forward. But only walk yourself enough forward so that your back stays super long. We don't want a hunched back here. We do that enough on our computers. So we want to keep our back super long, as if we have a down dog spine here. Taking a few more breaths. Pressing back with the hips. And you can always sway your upper body or rock your hips from right to left in any of these things that we do. We're staying super grounded in our hips, really getting into the meat of it all. It's fun to do all those other poses where we're kind of up higher, using our legs for different things. We're really spending the time to get into what's being stored in our hips, or the tightness in our hips is always good. Take one more breath here and then walk your hands back up. One last thing, and then we can shake our legs out. You're going to find your left elbow or right above your left elbow in the base of your left foot. Yeah. Then grab for your wrist or make a fist with your left hand and then place your right hand on top of it, kind of like how our knees were pressing into one another. And then pressing down, begin to look up to the sky and lean back. Yeah. Really nice if we can go. Take a few more breaths, twisting in the upper body. The hips are still staying square. Lean back a little bit more. Yeah. One more breath. And then come back to center. Let both legs come straight out in front of you. Shake them out. And then sit up super tall. Find your knees slightly bent, feet are flexed. Just notice what it's like to be in a perfect L shape. And then whenever you're ready, you'll cross one leg over the other, come back into your down dog, and then we'll get to do it all over on the other side. So pedal out your legs, sway your hips from right to left. Press your hands down. And then inhale, lift the left leg up, toes face down, slight bend in the right knee, bend the left knee, open up the left hip, take circles with the ankle and the knee. And then bring your left knee behind your left wrist. Foot is kind of on an angle, and get whatever you need to be under you to have enough support. I wish I had more blankets, but I don't know where they are. So that is my problem, but do whatever you need Take all the time in the world to set yourself up so you have this little throne to sit on. Walk your fingers back, grab for a block if that felt nice. If you have a second block, you can use that too. Place them in front of you on either the medium or the lowest height. Knees all the way out to the left side, and then walk yourself down. And the reason we use props is because we are not trying to become the world's most flexible human beings. What we're trying to do here is create a little more space in our hip joints. So we want to allow our hips to relax first in order to get to that place. And having a ton of blankets or pillows underneath your hips is one of the few ways to get there. And then having space underneath your chest and your forehead is also really nice because it kind of lifts you up so you aren't like sinking down uncomfortably onto the ground beneath you. So if you want to grab more props, feel free. The more props, the better. All of my yoga teachers who have been doing this type of stuff for a really long time always use the most props in class. So using props is not like a sign that you can't do something. It's a sign that you're listening to your body and being smart to make it the most comfortable and best way for you to do something. Although I know that's a hard mindset to change because using props is like, oh, I can't do this. I need to use a prop to bring the ground closer to me. But that shouldn't be what it is. It should be a tool to help you get where you need to go and where you can go. Press down with the left shin and pull your left hip back. Right hip tries to shoot out to the right. You can rock your forehead on whatever surface it's on to get a little massage there. Listening to your breath again. Letting the silence travel through your body to help calm everything down in the nervous system. Take 1 or 2 more breaths here. When you're ready, if you want to stay here for the next 30 minutes, you can do that too. But if you want, you can walk your hands up and over to the left, moving the block if that's helpful. Pulling the left hip back. Gaze can be down and out in between your hands. And so today's class is really a first floor class. So in Katona Yoga, we like to use the metaphor of a body as a house because we hope or we want everyone in the world to have a home. And it's something that most people can relate to, which makes yoga less of this esoteric dialogue that only some people can talk about, to make it accessible for everyone to find something to relate to and want to practice more to make their bodies feel better, be better, all that stuff. So in this first floor practice, we're getting into what we like to think of as the basement. When you think of a basement in a house or a cellar in an apartment building or anything like that, they're kind of musty, they're kind of damp. There's a lot of stuff in there that you didn't know was in there, a lot of clutter in there that you probably put there years ago and hoped you never would have to deal with again. So now we're dealing with it in these pigeon poses. Begin to walk yourself up and over to the right. Move the block if you need. Or if you have a pillow under you, that's great too. But dealing with what's on the first floor allows us to have even more space and ability to do things on our second floor, which we like to think of as our torso and our arms. So it's kind of like how we put ourselves out into the world and what we do when we're not on our yoga mats. And it also makes us easier to navigate our third floor, which is our mind, our brain, our imagination. We can have a much deeper imagination when our first floor isn't full of all this gunk that we're trying to figure out. Gives us more space for wonder and curiosity. Continue to pull the left hip back, keeping the hips square. And it's always good to spend some time once a month, once every few months, just really getting into the hips and doing that hip spring cleaning. One more breath. Walk yourself back to center. Take one more breath here with your arms out in front, and then begin to walk yourself back up. Sit on your left side, come into your ankle to knee with whatever level of stuff under you feels nice. I'm done with these yoga mats, and I'm just going to use my blanket thing, and then cross your right ankle, or right ankle's right on top of left knee, left ankle's under the right knee. Sit up super, super tall. So you have like a down dog like spine, even just sitting here. And if you don't, then put something under your hips so you can get there. Because putting something under your hips allows us to think that our hips are now on an incline and we're going forward instead of how we're always, or most of the time, it's easier to sit this way where we're like crouched back and kind of like this. So that's why we put something under us. From there, walk yourself out. Back is still super long. Take a few more breaths. See if as you breathe, you can get a little bit longer and a little bit lower. Continue to take those sways if that feels nice. And relax your head wherever you are. Give it a little shake, yes and no. Listening to your audible breath. One more breath here, as long or as fast as you want it to be. And then walk yourself back up. And then we'll take that last twist. So find your elbow or right above your elbow in the arch of your foot. Make a fist with your right hand. And then place your left hand on top of your right hand. And then twist up to the left and lean back. And you'll feel a really nice opening on the left side body. And there's no need to try to force your neck up so it looks up towards the sky. If you're really twisting from the base of your torso, eventually it'll get there. So if you feel any sort of tightness in your neck, then you can look down or just look straight in front of where you are. Eventually your neck will twist with it. One more breath, and then come back to center. Move anything out of the way, shake your legs out in front of you. Take any other like movements or like, I don't know, massaging or something of your muscles that feels good. And then we'll all meet in our downward facing dog. Cool. Last dog. So really bend the knees, stick the butt up. Your armpits in towards your heart. Notice how your legs feel. hopefully feeling a little bit more space in each leg. And then place the knees down. We'll sit to one side. Have your block like thing at arm's length, and then lay yourself down onto the ground. From there, you can come into constructive rest, feet as wide as the mat, knees knocking in. And then you can rock your knees from right to left, kind of like windshield wipers on a car. As you exhale, relax your shoulders, butt, hips. And then bring your feet back so they're in line with your knees and walk them in towards your butt a little bit. Grab for your block and place it on its lowest or its medium height. Lift your hips up and place it underneath your sacrum. So your sacrum is the lowest part of your back, right before your butt. And if you don't have a block, you could also put a pillow underneath here or something like that. And then you can also add some sways here. Arms can be out to the sides, letting everything relax, but giving us a nice gentle back bend because we didn't do that much of a back bend today. And then lengthen out your right leg if you can, and lengthen out your left leg if you can. So we're kind of in like a raised Shavasana pose almost, but you might feel a nice opening in the front of each hip. So we got the backs of our hips, we didn't really get the fronts of the hips today. So that's why it's nice to do this towards the end to really release the fronts of the hips where there might be some gripping that we didn't even realize. You can relax your butt. And let your eyes close if they aren't already. Really taking up space. Imagine that you are something that melts in summer and you're melting down and out across your mat and the floor. One more breath. And then step your feet in. So they're still at hips width distance. And then find yourself here for a second, and then you can lift your legs up towards the sky to really get some draining. You can circle your ankles. You can kind of shake your legs around. You could lift up a hand and massage a part of your leg if that feels nice. Anything goes to get whatever part of your leg needs some love. My calves are still tight even after all of that. You could also rock your hips from right to left. Or you can find stillness. One more breath here, letting the blood flow, switch directions. And then place your feet back down when you're ready. Lift your hips up just enough to pull the block out, and then don't pull your knees in towards your chest. Just widen your feet as wide as the mat and let your knees knock in for constructive rest again to neutralize the spine. Take one or two more breaths. And then we'll take a nice little short Shavasana. So you can lengthen out your legs. Let your arms come down by your sides or out by your sides, palms face up, shoulders down and back. And continue as you exhale to release any other pieces of tension that you notice. And we'll rest here for a few more minutes. Notice where your mind is wandering off to. Take your deepest breath of the day, inhaling for as long as you can and exhaling for as long as you can. And then bring some movement back into your fingers and your toes, letting it travel up your arm and your legs, beginning to rock your head right to left. And when you're ready, roll over onto your right side, your solar side, coming into a fetal position. Take 1 or 2 breaths there, and then pressing yourself up. Come sit just as you started, either cross-legged or in Virasana. Make sure you have enough surface area on the ground, sitting up super duper tall. Then find your breath here again. Without having our first floor, we can't have any of our other floors. Just like if there's no roots for a tree or a flower or anything to use to grow, there won't be any flower or tree in the end. So we always need to root down to rise up. And thinking of those two polarities of rooting down, going a little bit more inward, using our low body, while at the same time finding a balance of putting ourselves out there, using our potential, going for things, using our imagination. We have to mediate both of those things right in the middle, which sometimes we find naturally, and sometimes we find ourselves leaning more to one side than the other, and we have to bring ourselves back to the middle. You can find your palms face down or face up wherever they are. We'll take one more deep inhale and exhale all together. Inhaling through the nose, holding it at the top, and then big sigh, exhale out the mouth. Bring your hands to press together at heart center. Gratitude to each other for practicing together. Gratitude to your bodies, gratitude to your mind, and the connection that we find in each of these classes and practices, or any time that we bring awareness to the present moment. Bring your thumb knuckles to third eye center in between your eyebrows. And we'll end practice with a final bow. Thanks so much for coming. Yay, thank you both.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you. I hope you both have a great rest of your day. And there might be class next week. I'll stop recording.